as it is an international break, and I can only pick one player from every Premier League club, and every Premier League club must be represented at these Euros. So I'm gonna make the starting 11, and then I will fill up the bench as well. So this is gonna produce some very interesting results, I will tell you that. I would love to see what your teams would be under this stipulation. It was very hard for me to pick this, as I had to, balance out where key players needed to be, and I really strategized when I was picking this, but hopefully it's just a bit of fun. Hopefully we produce a good team. Right, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the formation up a little bit. So we're going to go to where is it? This one, yeah. We're just going to go to a 4-2-3-1. We're going to be playing a 4-2-3-1 in this formation, as it's the best one that fits the players. But let's begin with my starting goalkeeper, which actually isn't going to change from what's going to happen in real life, really. Is Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford will be starting in goal in this. Now, the reasoning behind this was, to be fair, there are a couple other decent English Premier League goalkeepers out there, but with Everton there wasn't really too many others to pick. The only other ones were Jared Branthwaite and James Tarkowski. And while they are good centre-backs, as we will get on to, a lot of other clubs have centre-backs and have a lot of centre-backs to choose from. So I was like, you know what, let me just get in Pickford, a really good keeper, experienced player as well, played at major tournaments where some of these other players in this team maybe haven't. So we'll get him in, because as we will get on to, I have a lot of other centre-backs, so felt right to just put a goalkeeper in there. So Pickford will be our starting goalkeeper. In at right back, we have gone for Trips, Kieran Trippier. We'll get this one. Kieran Trippier is our right back. Now, there's multiple reasons I've gone for him. One, I mean, he is one of the best English right backs out there and available. I had quite a few right backs to choose. Luckily, right back is one of our better positions, so whoever I chose wasn't going to be a bad shout. But I chose him because the only other Newcastle player I was really considering was Callum Wilson. But similar to Branthwaite, as we will get on to, there are a lot of other strikers who I could have chosen and were better suited. So I thought, okay, let's get a right back in there. And then the likes of Liverpool for Trent, Carl Walker, Man City, Reece James, Chelsea. As we'll get on to, I think there's been more important players to this England side who I need to get in the side. Trippier, they've experienced good players, so we're starting off very strong here actually. So as Newcastle and Everton done, we move on to the back two, where maybe there's a little bit of a drop, but it's still very solid. So we start with the first one, who is Lewis Dunk of Brighton. He was the Brighton choice mainly because there really wasn't many other people, if anybody, to choose from at Brighton. I mean, well, maybe Solly March, but he's been injured most of this season, right? So Lewis Dunk had a pretty good season for Brighton, been in England set up for quite a while now, not made too many caps, but has always been a solid centre back, and I think he can do pretty decent for me at centre back. And his pairing is Ezri Konsa. Ezri Konsa is going alongside Lewis Dunk. Again, has been in and around the England setup. I think has been called up again for the international friendlies coming up this week. but he's had a fantastic season. He has had a truly exceptional season. For Villa has been really, really good, alongside Pau Torres. And one of the main reasons I chose him was because, so at Villa, I mean, it was really him or Ollie Watkins, and Watkins has been sensational, but a similar thing to Callum Wilson. There were a lot of other good strikers, so I've opted to go for Firm and then go for Konza at the back, because Konza is a very good centre-back, and him and Dunk I think will make a good pairing. Maybe it's a little bit inexperienced, if you like, you know, at the big stage, but I didn't really have too many others here I could have gone for, so this is the best I could do. Anyway, left back. We go to a bit more of a safer pick here. We have Luke Shaw from Man United. He is the Man United choice at left back. So I've gone for Shaw because, firstly, left backs is one of the positions where we don't have much depth. It's really Shaw or Chilwell, and then besides that, I really didn't want to be playing anybody else. So I was like, okay, I have to get either Shaw or Chilwell in at left back. And then as I started to think about it, I was like, you know, Chelsea have a little bit more options in terms of English players, as we will get on to. Whereas Man United don't really have too many. It was really between him or Rashford. And Rashford, you know, has not been incredible this season. And I think, you know, I've chosen other players there. So I was like, okay, I'll put Shaw in because I need a good left back. We don't have too many good left backs. So I have gone for Luke Shaw. So for me, this is a really, really good, really solid back five of Pickford, Trippier, Dunk, Konza and Shaw. I really do like this back five. Now we'll move on to the midfield. So playing in a double pivot, we have Declan Rice. Declan Rice is in there. Really, really had to be him here. And now, of course, this means no Saka, which is annoying, but I had to pick Declan Rice. One, because he is fantastic and has been exceptional, but two, because there's basically nobody else who can play this role. So I had to take Rice. There's literally barely anybody who's at least playing well who can play in a sort of double pivot or be a bit more of a defensive-minded midfielder. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to pick Declan Rice. He has to be in the team, because if I was going to pick anybody else, the drop-off would be insane. And, you know, on the wing areas, Saka's exceptional, but there are some other really good options who are not that far off from Saka's level. Whereas the drop-off from Rice to the other players was huge. So Rice has to be in the team for me. Now, alongside him is where things get a little bit weird. I mean, I'm kind of cheating, and I'm taking a bit of a gamble, but I really had to go for it. We're going for Trent Alexander-Arnold is playing in midfield at the Euros for me. Under these rules, I'm playing Rice and Trent in a double pivot. Now, it's not ideal. Preferably, I would rather have Trent at right back, because, you know, there's a lot of talk about Trent being a midfielder, but at the end of the day, I would much rather him just be at right back and then invert, because, you know, it's a lot different when you start at right back and move into midfield than when you just start at midfield. But having said that, he has played in midfield a couple times under Southgate for England, and for Liverpool it was really only him or Joe Gomez. Harvey Elliott maybe, but it was him or Joe Gomez. And Joe Gomez, to be fair, is a good player and quite a useful player, but we already had good fullbacks, so I was like, okay, I don't need him. And I was like, I need to get Trent in here somehow. So I was like, okay, I don't know who I'm pairing here alongside Declan Rice. As I said, there wasn't many choices. Maybe, you know, Calvin Phillips, but he's been so poorly out of form, I wasn't going to choose him. And then I was like, I don't know who else. Let me put Trent in there. So it's a Trent and Declan So we move into the number 10. The number 10 for me at the Euros is... Okay, I have spelled that name wrong. Let me just... There we go. James Maddison. James Maddison will be playing number 10 for me. So, I mean, this was one of the easiest choices on here because one, he's a good player, but two, there was literally nobody else to choose from at Spurs. Surprisingly, Spurs have been renowned over the years for producing English players. They're like the hub of English players. Well, actually, right now I don't have too many now. Harry Kane's gone. I mean, they have a couple in there, but none of them are good. Like Ryan Sessegnon, Oliver Skip. I wasn't choosing any of these guys, so Maddison had to be in the team, and I'm pretty happy with that because he is a good player. And his midfield, I mean, on paper looks amazing. Trent, Maddison, and Rice. I mean, hopefully that plays well, but that is a class midfield. Let's move on to the wide areas. So at right mid, we have Raheem the Dream Sterling. Okay, that goal can't play. Let me just get another one. There we go. Raheem the Dream Sterling. Raheem Sterling is at right mid. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. Why have I gone Sterling at right mid for Chelsea when I could have just gone for Cole Palmer, who also plays Chelsea and can play right mid as well? And while Palmer is a better player and has had a better season, one of the main reasons I've gone for this is because I am thinking, like, logically, like, this is actually going to play at Euros. Sterling has a lot of experience for England on the major international stage. He always performs at tournaments for England. He's been one of our best players at all of the last tournaments, really. He's had a decent season. He's been okay. And I really just need that experience in the side because I do have a couple players like Dunk, like Gonza, even Trent and Maddison, who haven't really been starters at a major tournament. And also, as we'll get into, the striker also hasn't really. So I need someone who I know can guarantee score goals on the international stage at big tournaments. So that's why I've gone Sterling over Cole Palmer. He is just a little bit more of a risk, but yeah, Sterling is the choice for me at right mid. And coming in off the left is Phil Foden. Phil Foden. Had to get him in the team. Now, Man City was an interesting one because there was quite a few good choices there. I could have gone Carl Walker, but as I mentioned earlier, we have quite a few good right backs, so I was like, okay, I don't want to waste him. I could have gone John Stones, which would have been very useful because, centre back's a little light. But I really needed some extra attackers. Because I was a little light, especially on the left, because I hadn't gone Rashford. Because I went short, I couldn't go Rashford. So then off the left, I was kind of struggling for options there. So it was really Foden or Grealish, and Foden has been exceptional. So I'm taking Foden. Now, ideally, I would rather have Foden at number 10, but because Maddison has to be in the team, Foden's going to have to go out to the left, where I think he's a little worse off the left than in the central role, but he's still exceptional. And to be fair, that's another reason as well. I've kind of gone Sterling because while Foden has played at major tournaments, he's not been like incredible at the major tournaments. So yeah, hopefully Foden would be able to step up. I'm expecting him to. But if not, we've got an experienced guy there who can hopefully step up in Sterling. Right, now leading my line at the Euros with no Harry Kane is Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney will be my striker at the Euros under these conditions. Now, the main reason is because, firstly I had to take Toney because who else am I picking up Brentford? Well, Ben Me. I'm good. So Toney had to be in the team. And then I've gone him over Watkins because, as I mentioned, I needed a centre-back, but I've also started him ahead of someone who will get on the bench just because similar sort of thing. Tony has been in and around England squad. He's had a cap or two to his name, so it's not like he's a complete stranger to international football compared to the other person on the bench. And he's a good striker. But this is what I was saying about Sterling. He is very unproven at this level, so that is a main reason why I've gone Sterling on the right. So I've got someone in that front three who I know I can trust, and then I've got someone in the front three who's having a sensational season, and then I've got someone who is a bit more of a wild card option, but I believe has the ability to do it. So this is the starting 11. Now let's go on to the bench and the rest of the squad. So on the bench we have Wes Foderingham. Now, Sheffield. To be honest, there was nobody in that Sheffield squad I wanted, so I was like, let me just pick someone to get out the way who I know is never touching that blade of grass. Wes Foderingham, you can come in. He is third choice keeper because backup keeper in similar sort of style as James Trafford of Burnley. Again, I just didn't want anyone at Burnley, so I was like, just give me the backup goalkeeper in James Trafford. If God forbid something happened to Pickford, I guess I'll put Trafford in. I mean, it's not ideal, but yeah, those two are my sort of throwaway picks as a second and third choice keeper. Right, into the more, I guess, serious picks then. So we have Craig Dawson will be making the Euro squad. Ballon Dawson is out the Euros. Wolves. Not too many options at Wolves. It was really him or Max Gilman. They were the only two options. You can go Max Gilman if you like. It wouldn't really make too much difference. But Gone Dawson, just wanted to give him a bit of props. He's been around the block for a bit. Get him a Euro squad call up, and it'll be a decent option. If we have to maybe shut up shop in a game, just chuck on Dawson to hopefully see out the game. But yeah, Ballon Dawson is in. Another centre back on the plane is Dozin Adebayo. Dozin Adebayo is in because there was literally nobody. It was the only two notable Englishmen at Fulham are him or Harrison Reed, and I was like, Adebayo is pretty good centre back, so I was like, let's take him. Forget about Harrison Reed. So Adebayo is in, another centre back. And these two are two backup centre backs, which is, I mean, it's not ideal. I think centre back is probably our worst spot, to be honest, but they're solid. These four are pretty solid players. Right, next up on the bench we have in the squad Ross Barkley is making his return to the England squad. Now, I was actually kind of close in putting him in there instead of Trent, but I was like, you know what, I'm not going to chuck him in straight away into the limelight, but he's actually had a fantastic season at Luton this year, a real renaissance, full credit to him. In fact, he might even, he's in a shout of getting another England call up and getting on that plane potentially, but he is in my squad under these rules because there was no one at Luton and he's having a fantastic season. Right, next up, we have Morgan Gibbs-White. He is the Nottingham Forest representative. Nobody else really at Forest to choose, so I'll take Gibbs-White, who is a pretty good player, and give us backup for Madison. He's a player who can come on, maybe create something, get a goal or two. Has a fantastic record for the England under-21s. I mean, I know that doesn't say too much, but still, definitely helps his case, and yeah, he's just in as a backup player. Next up, we have, where is he? Eze, Abira, Eze, Abariche, Eze. Now this is where the bench really, gets a bit of something. This is actually a player who can come on and really do something in a game. A player who's been in England squads. But Eze, as long as he's fit, is on my plane. Fantastic for Palace. Nobody really at Palace to choose from besides him or the goalkeepers in Henderson and Johnston, but Eze, a real difference maker, has been so good for Palace. Great creative wise and great going grabbing goals as well, and he can really give us that option. If Maddison's not having a great game, chuck on Eze and he could potentially do something. So he's a great weapon to have off the bench. Another great weapon to have off the bench, who was actually very close in starting but just missed out, is Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen is the West Ham pick. So, I mean, he was an obvious pick for West Ham because it was him or really James Ward-Prowse, but Bowen is fantastic, and I needed some sort of lethal weapon to have off the bench in terms of attack. And I've gone for Jared Bowen. Now, I was thinking of putting him in ahead of Ivan Toney and playing him as a striker, but I thought that front three is a little bit timid for me. I want a bit of a focal point, and also if I did that in general, this team would be a little bit small. I would be a bit concerned they would get a bit bullied, so I've gone for Bowen off the bench, but I think that's a real good game changer off the bench. If a Toney isn't working, chuck Bowen on, or if Sterling's not having a good game, chuck Bowen on. Maybe Maddison is in, chuck Foden there, Sterling left, and then Bowen on the right. That could work as well, but yeah, just a real good handy player to have off the bench. Right, and finally the last pick in the squad is Dom Solanke. Somebody who I think has been very harshly treated in the recent squads and being not called up. But he is called up to mine. Now he's not starting ahead of Toney because, as I mentioned earlier, Toney has at least been in and around the England squad. He is called up to this one. Solanke hasn't been in the England squad for a long time. So even though Solanke's having a better season than Toney and is doing really well for Bournemouth, I wouldn't want to chuck him in as my starting striker at the Euros just straight away. But he is a really good option to have off the bench, and I wouldn't mind putting him on if we needed a goal, or maybe in one of those where we win our first two group games and then we give Solanke the third one, see how he does, and if he does great we can start him ahead of Toney. But yeah, he is in the squad. But anyway, this is my team, let's run through it. So we have Jordan Pickford in goal, Kieran Trippier, Lewis Dunk, Ezri Konsa and Luke Shaw at the back. We have Declan Rice, Trent and Maddison as a midfield three. Then we have a front three of Sterling, Foden and Toney. And on the bench we have Fotheringham, Trafford, Craig Dawson, Adebayo, Barkley, Gibbs White, Eze, Bowen and Solanke. Now, you know what, I'm pretty happy with this. I think the starting 11 is really strong. The bench is a little weak, and there's a lot of players who are a bit unproven and never played for England on here. But for me, if this was the team and the squad going into the Euros, I reckon this team probably semis max. If we're lucky with a draw, we can get a semis, probably a quarter final. I'm not sure if this makes a final, but it could probably make a semis. This squad. Let me know, vote. Where do you think this squad would end up? What changes would you make to this to improve it? And if you guys have enjoyed, and if you have, please leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in another